What's up, Shannon?
Hi. Wow. Did you age like 3 years in the last time that I've seen you?
I
I
feel
think
like it.
so. Me too. I think so. You look good, man. How you
Thank you. You
doing?
too. I'm doing all right. How you?
I'm doing pretty good, hanging in there. School, I think it starts on the 24th, so I'm just, like trying to get mentally prepared for that, just heading into thesis. But other than
Mm,
that, I'm good. I'm in Chicago, just, have been spending time with fam and just kind of like regrouping and assessing with everything that's going on. But I'm glad
mm.
that you're still producing work, which is why we're here
Um,
today. And, because we know you was brilliant. Okay. So
I don't know about all that. I'm trying to do a little something.
yeah, I'm just glad that you're still producing work and things because like I was concerned, like with Howard and how that is, but like you just have to do, what's best for you. But I'm
Mm,
still glad that you're on your film journey and we're here today to talk about Funeral of a Nation, which is lit because you know that we talked about Birth of a Nation or we saw Birth of a Nation, long ass movie with subtitles, silent film.
hmm.
If you guys haven't watched Birth of a Nation, you guys should watch it because it's some American staple. However,
Yeah.
we very subjective because it's very racist propaganda. However, we'll
Yeah.
just leave that there. But I do like the play on, the idea and who was that? Oh, Nate Parker
Mm,
and his movie and stuff like that. So I'm glad that you guys kind of like there's a lot of symbolism in the name and everything. So like first I want to talk about your cinematography because you are a cinematographer and you're the first cinematographer I've talked to on here, which is very dope. We need more black cinematographers, I do believe. So like I don't think that we talked about while we were in classes or anything. I don't think that we discussed like or maybe briefly talked about like your passion for cinematography or how did you get off into that? I know you started with photography, but tell me how that transitioned into cinematography per se.
yeah, like you said, I started with photography. My sister has a style blog, so I just shot for her. I hated it initially, but um, I think with time I grew to love it. Where you start to develop your own aesthetic, your own style. You start to understand how the camera works, and you begin to understand that it's a natural extension of your eye, of your perception. I think from there it just kind of morphed into cinematography. I've always loved movies. That was kind of like my biggest pastime growing up, other than like playing ball or whatever. I think I probably spent the most time watching movies, going to Blockbuster, the movie theater, and then Netflix came along, so streaming. And then from there, you start to understand there were certain movies I always felt strongly about. Um, and then you kind of, when I started to understand what cinematography was, because I didn't know what it was initially, you know, once I started to understand what it was, I'm like, oh, that's probably why I like that movie, and that's why I like that movie. And from there, just kept studying the craft, and then you start to come across these names, um, these big, these titans in cinematography, um, kind of discipline. And what I started to understand was all the black ones went to Howard. So, um, and so yeah, that's how I ended up at Howard. We found out about AJ and Brad and Malik Saeed and Ernest Dickerson, of course, like the forefather. Um, and so, just kind of wanted to fall in that lineage. You know, hopefully I can follow suit.
You will. My man's have like I don't know like what you guys' trajectory or distribution plan is. I know it's doing phenomenal on YouTube. I saw it. I think it's wonderful. The
Thank you.
aesthetic, love it. You're privy to drone shots. That's your style. Well, I love that. I love that because it's like the way you do it. Not everybody does drone the same.
Hmm.
And just the feel of overall overarching themes of church and what's going on in the world and things like that. me and Keith went to film school. We were in the same MFA program at Howard University, so that's where we got our training from, and we took courses together. And the fun thing is that Keith DP'd my first film, so that was interesting to say the least, because I think it was like everybody's first experience. I know it was definitely my first experience with just having like written and like produced and directed something and trying to see it from beginning to end. And like, of course, like sometimes things get lost in translation, but like as a filmmaker and cinematographer, you have to grow, and there's room for error. You just have to get to a certain place where you're comfortable in yourself, and like just your journey with growth and everything. Can you talk about, because you have your first film, Forest Fire, correct? What
Yeah.
film festival was that entered in? Because I know you won a film festival, or like you were entered into a film festival, and that did well there.
hmm yeah, so it's I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and it's a film festival here called Africana. And Anjali, excuse me, Moon is the coordinator. She's the founder, the creator. And they just want to give voice to Black perspectives, Black narratives. And so, being that that's kind of home base, I'm from just south of Richmond, southeast. But this is the closest metropolitan area. Um, I entered into that, and that was cool because I got to have my family there to see my first short film, and they've always been so supportive, even as I was kind of switching careers and decided I wanted to pursue this. So it was good to have them there. And yeah, I haven't. It's funny because I haven't released it yet. It's just kind of in
Yeah.
the vault. But I am thinking about it. I'm actually still tweaking a little bit, working on sound, working on, little, just, I have a shorter edit. Um, so hopefully soon I will put that somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, when the time is right, I was really impressed with it. I'm not gonna lie, shameless plug. I felt as though Keith's film was very advanced, because we were first years when Keith shot it and directed it. And he did it out in Richmond in like this beautiful, like foresty area and things like that. And Keith's work is very, very visual. I'm gonna link everything to his pages and his website below, so you guys can check it out, and as well as Funeral of a Nation, so you guys can see that. But how do you think, or like, I know Richmond plays the integral part. Keith's work kind of touches on themes of family and church and things that he resonated with, just being from Richmond and being Black and growing up, things that we all resonate with. It's all about, we have centerings in the family, with our friends and our personal identities, and maybe struggling with that, as well as like the church and deep roots. I guess Richmond is, you consider it like it's the South still as well, so there's kind of like that bridge between. How does Richmond and your community or just your family influence your work, or would you say that your work is mainly rooted in like those Black staples and themes of community?
Yeah, I think for me, definitely, Virginia is kind of in a funny. We're mid-Atlantic, so they say, we're too far north to be south. We're too far south to be north.
North.
Um, but where I am is Central Virginia, which is Southern Virginia, essentially. Nova is like a whole nother state for us.
Right.
Um, and so I grew up in the country. My grandparent, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, they all grew up, in the sticks. And I grew up in the suburbs, but I spent more time than anywhere out in rural areas, and that, I think, in a lot of ways, to your point, has influenced my aesthetic, in terms of how I perceive things, but also, um, the stories I would like to convey, the messages I would like to convey as well. Um, just comes from that familial dynamic, the identity, figuring out who you are within that familial structure, right? And you've heard this time and time again. I've told other people, like, my grandparents are all one of nine, one of 10. So I got, like, cousins all over the place, and That's how I grew up. Just this past Sunday, so at my grandma's house, it was like 10, 15 of us. And it's interesting coming off of quarantine. That was probably what I missed the most. I'm a homebody. I like being at home, but other than that, I miss seeing my family and being with them. And so many of the stories that I wanna tell, I wanna share are from that place. Um, and so yeah, and it's funny, even when you talk about identity, like Forest Fire kind of deals with that a little bit, and that whole thing of Virginia not being quite the North, not being quite the South. Maybe that's kind of made its way into my work, where we've kind of formulated our own identity. Um, and so yeah, that's definitely thematically, that's kind of the things I explore.
Right, and I love it because, like, for me, P Valley just came out. I don't know if you know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet. My sister says it's great. She loves it.
good. It's so good.
Yeah.
But like for me, I was just so happy because Katori Hall is the showrunner and she's like a playwright, but she turned P Valley, which is short for either Pink Valley or Pussy. It was Pussy Valley at first, but it was a play,
Mm.
and like
Uh,
it didn't translate well, like through play, and she just knew, like this has to be a TV show, so I'm gonna turn it into that. But like I can appreciate it because it brings out those Southern traditions and Southern culture, and we need to see more in terms of like down south narrative, but not just that, like family dynamics,
mhm,
identity, like roots. Let's get back to the Gullah, island and stuff, and like
mhm,
let's get back to the Daughters of the Dust type of narrative. So I love that you're doing that, and I think that a lot of filmmakers, especially Black filmmakers, are going to be start shifting towards that narrative of going back. Like I even have some ideas of like features that like include like ancestry or African culture and things like that, as with how Montre kind of shifted my narrative with my first script. And so I kind of want to like touch back on like the Afrofuturism that Black Panther did, and
mhm.
et cetera. And so I know you love Ryan Coogler, and like let's manifest you working with him that way. But I
Uh,
love it. So let's get
mm,
into Funeral of a Nation. Let's talk about like the development or how that came about. I know you paired with your musician friend, and he scored it, and you shot and either directed or edited it. So let's
mhm.
talk about the development or that. Like how did it come about? What were you guys feeling? What was the process like for you from beginning, like pre-production, production, and development, and kind of like how you may have had to navigate because of COVID and things.
Yeah. So yeah, I worked with Harold Lilly Jr., Richmond native. He's gone. Uh, this project is released under his I guess you say alias. Thank you, good sir. And he's kind of he not kind of he's a legend
Yeah.
here in Richmond. He's a songwriter, and so um, it he and he's known me since a child. He actually, it's funny, he met me probably 12, 13. He was dating my cousin. Um, and so he's probably been one of the more influential figures in my life. He was the first person that just kind of made me feel like it was cool to read, like I remember he came around, he had J's on, whatever. But then he would talk about books. And so I'm
Mm.
like, oh, it's cool, and um, so yeah, he's doing this thing out on the West Coast. He's a brilliant songwriter, written so many of the hits that so many
You
people
know what?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't go down the list, but just Ego and
Right.
uh,
Okay, well, like, let me chime in because well, you may
mm,
not have known, but I'm in the HBCU in LA internship, but we had a guest speaker, but I'm not sure if it was him. Is he kind of like light skinned and he wears glasses? No, okay.
nah, it probably
Okay,
wasn't him.
okay, that's
Yeah.
he's a
C-
great. He was a songwriter that had worked with Beyonce, and while I was watching the documentary,
mm,
visual narrative, I was just like, I wonder is that the same guy? Because they were similar. They have similar backgrounds in terms of songwriting and the people
mhm.
they work with. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so much of his thing to this point has been anonymity, and I'm really big on that too. I don't really like, for people that know me, I don't really like social media. I don't really
I know.
post myself. I don't really
Oh,
like,
I
you
know.
know. And so we resonate. We had that commonality. But yeah, anyway, long story short, Um, he's always been, he's always been an inspiration for me. And just like, good friend, always giving wise advice and just kind of, always someone to kind of look up to even from a distance. So fast forward, I made this shift towards photography from what I was doing prior. And he and my cousin, they are no longer together, but they're still good friends. And she had just kind of kept him in the loop, I guess. And you know, he was a fan of my work, which was encouraging for me, as someone that was still exploring their creativity and trying to figure that out. Um, so 2018, first semester at Howard, as a matter of fact, he called me and we were just rapping. He has a label in LA called Hardcover. He's just, rapping about creative direction and just, just chopping it up.
Mhm.
And so, nothing manifested from there. But seeds were planted. Fast forward to this past April, might even been March. As a matter of fact, it was March. So kind of early on in quarantine. Um, and as a matter of fact, I was in LA the last weekend of February and I got up with him. I hadn't seen him in probably 10, 12 years, if not probably longer than that. But, still kept up from a distance. Anyway, um, early March, you know, he posted something on his story. He hashtag Film of a Nation. I just asked him, was it on the way? He was like working on it. And from there, I was just like, let me know if you need anything. He sent me some pictures and, sent me a list of things. He's from Virginia. We just had that shared background. Um, and, I felt like I could give him pictures. I could go take pictures. I could go whatever. But, just having this space and this time. So how much doper would it be if I just built a campaign? So I sent him some early stuff, which was one of the first things I sent him was the album cover, and I sent him the Lord's Prayer. So the Lord's Prayer didn't have any music on it. I chopped up some footage, sent it to him, and then from there we just got the ball rolling. So interestingly enough, we actually started it prior to Ahmaud Arbery and prior to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And I actually was editing the video for all my friends the day that Ahmaud Arbery was well the day that the footage broke because he was killed 2-3 months prior, I think. Anyway, from there we kept building. We just kept building. We call it workshopping. So we would just have these discussions an hour or two at a time, and just bouncing ideas off each other. So then he would run with what we talked about. I would run what we talked about. And it was such an organic process. I didn't tell him, what to write or what to sing. He's been doing that. That's his forte. He's been doing that for years. And he didn't tell me what to shoot. And I think there was such a mutual appreciation, mutual respect that I think that the final product is genuine, came from a genuine place, it's authentic.
It's the collaboration. It's seamless. Like it doesn't even seem like you guys were like working from like bi-coastal, and it doesn't even seem that. It seems like every step of the way you guys were consulting, which you were, but like it just, to me, flawless. Like it really impressed me because like it spoke so much to what's going on in the world now. And I know that may have been, because I know your artistry, so I would just knew your style, and I was like very intentional, like you guys like sat down and talked about this, and like God is in the mix with everything. And so like I feel like for this project, for you and what the world needs to see, and for our Black people that need to see this, everything was able to align in the way that it was creatively for you guys. So I'm very proud about the project for you guys together.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was wondering, how did you get the archival footage, or like what? Like that's a tricky thing, especially for documentaries, and like when you're trying to get maybe copyrighted music. Although I know most of the music was his, but like the footage for me, outside of the drone shots in the church and like the aesthetic in the different neighborhoods, was just I was wondering like, how did he do that, or like like what did he have to go through in order to get that?
Yeah, just a lot of internet searches. So yeah, the archive footage, It's probably 85% of it's public domain, which, I wanted to stay in that public domain
Right.
space just because then I wouldn't get tied up with copyright.
Copyright. Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, there are a couple different sources, the Internet Archive, the Library of Congress, actually, they're the ones that kind of control what is and what isn't
Hmm.
copyrighted, what's public domain.
Hmm.
Um, and so I found this really amazing series called All American News. And All American News it was essentially like war propaganda, but it was news. It was news geared towards Black people
Hmm.
um, during World War II, I think. And so, yeah, so they would have a lot of it. Again, a lot of it was propaganda. So it was a lot of military footage, but then they have footage of you know brilliant artists or educators. That's why I got a lot of Adam Clayton Powell or
Hmm.
Mary was it
Yeah.
Mary
But
Bethune, yeah. And yeah, it was just a lot of
hmm.
interesting footage, and
Hmm.
so much of this footage, or not even so much the footage, the project was just about blackness, and the spectrum of blackness and Black culture, and how what I really wanted to do was show that um, there is blackness can't be defined. There's there's a vastness
Hmm.
to our and to blackness that can't really be expressed or explained. But also, what I wanted to show is American history is Black
It's
history,
Black history.
and so many of our narratives and um, you know, the depictions have been kind of cast aside or have been overlooked. So I wanted to make sure that I just kind of gave voice to some of the things that aren't as prevalent, um, in the American,
Hmm.
social lexicon, I guess we could say. So, yeah.
It makes sense. It's so authentic too. I love that for your work and for you and your intentions as a filmmaker and cinematographer. What did you
Thank you.
run into any issues? With COVID, kind of. I do believe that people are wanting to shoot like Steadicam and drone. Nothing on sticks outside, so you won't
Mm,
get wrapped up with like the laws of your city or the ordinance, the CDC, and blah blah blah. But like, I think you went the safest route. So I would recommend people, if you're shooting, please use drone or like try to do it in a safe way to where if you're doing a one, man or woman crew, like you have your equipment, but something that's compact or like something that you can maneuver around and also be safe with. So did you run into any issues?
nah, no, no issues. The Pretty much it was just I mean I did everything by
Yeah.
myself with the exception of people. One guy took me to the cemeteries, another guy took me to the church. So the church is the church that Harold actually grew up in. Um, and so people just kind of took me different places. So aside from me, it was just maybe one person at a time, two tops. Um, and I shot everything with the drone just to kind of keep it. I have camera footage. Um, haven't decided what we're gonna do with it yet. Might do a doc or something like that. Who knows? But
Okay.
um, yeah, just I did everything with the drone, so hands off. You know, kept my distance, kept my mask on anytime. It's funny. I'm actually shooting a documentary now,
Okay.
um, and I'm just DPing, and it's this guy that we've been interviewing on a kind of a weekly basis, and he said, we had food, and I took my mask down. He was like, I think that's the first time I've seen the bottom half of your face. 'Cause he was like, you're not playing about the
No,
mask. I was
you
like,
are
nah,
not playing. You do not play about
yeah.
yourself at all.
Nah, I don't play. So I like, stayed masked up, kept my hand sanitizer, and
Right.
I was able to get everything I need to get. So,
I'm loving that for you.
mm,
Oh, where was I? I think in terms of, well, it's on YouTube, definitely. It's on
mhm.
YouTube. Oh, in terms of DPing, like what I kind of know a little bit of your strength, but like what would you say your strength is as a DP or cinematographer?
I don't know. I really don't know. I would say, That's a tough question. That's a good question. Um, I would say,
If you don't, no, I'm just like, then I'll chime in. I'll chime in with what I
yeah.
think. So,
I'll just give some quick. Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. I think just kind of I think my strength isn't so much in the aesthetic as it is in the approach.
mm,
Um, I'm very like problem
massage.
solving. Yeah, like, and so I just believe in getting the shot. At the end of the day, you got to get the shot. And I think it's easy to get caught up in the bells and whistles and all of that. But um, I think I think that would be my strength, just the ability to think on my feet, to problem solve, to critical think. Um, yeah, and as far as that, I think it just kind of shows in the aesthetic. I think it comes out in its own way. So I think that would be my strength.
I do agree, and like as a cinematographer, that's a very important part. You need to be able to think quick on your feet. You can't be setting up the camera on sticks and taking 30 minutes when we needed to get the shot because now the production schedule is off and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
So, like that's a good. I think your approach is methodical. I personally believe that you are good with the math, aspect of it because you were an engineering major. You do, like so you're like a semi-engineer, but you
hmm
also have like a visual eye, and not everybody has a visual eye, and the DP is supposed to help aid with that, visual, eye and the methodicalness of it and like the logistics. And so like I think you're really good at like lighting ratios and lighting. You're good with camera angles. You know how to like get the shot, which is great. And you're really good at editing. When I was watching the doc, I was just like, now I know Keith did all of this. I just knew. I said, I know Keith edited this. Somebody, or if he didn't edit this, who edited this? Or how did this come about? But I agree with you. But like personally, for me, what I've seen, like you're very knowledgeable about equipment, which is a plus. People, if you're looking to hire Keith in the Richmond area, please do because he will show up every time. He's on time, he's punctual, he knows his stuff, he's a student of the craft, which is important because you really have to be. And like cultural things, like, and also Keith creatively, like when we worked together for my short film Cover, which I renamed Pieces, it was just like the partnership was just really fluid, and like we touched in frequently. He showed up on set, was very prompt. Like we had a good relationship in terms of like figuring out what we were trying to do aesthetically, and like he was hands on to like whatever I needed in terms of like a director or producer. So all the skills that you need to have, and I think that you're going to be going very far in due time. I've always said this. I've always thought Keith has been brilliant because I saw it from day one. I know he believes in himself. He just got to dig a little deeper. But your process and your path is bright, but it's definitely like at your own pace, which is great. Do you guys have any further plans for Funeral of a Nation?
Well, first of all, thank you for all of those compliments. I appreciate it. It's funny because yes, I did edit it. I don't like editing though. I
No,
just do it
yes.
out of necessity. But really, what we're doing is we're kind of looking at Richmond, being that it's home base. Even though he's based in LA, it's home base for both of us. Kind of looking at that as a soft launch. So hopefully just getting more eyes on it, getting more, building more excitement around the project.
Right.
And we've kind of, I think both of us are in a place where we did it not because we had to, but because we wanted to.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good place to be in. We didn't want to feel like we were getting caught up in the numbers game or getting caught up in, you know, social. Oh, of course, we want there to be an impact, but we don't. That's not why we did it. We did it because we had to, from a personal place, right? It can't. So much of it came out of a grief, a personal grief, and a collective grief. We're all grieving as a nation, day in and day out. So all that being said, we had a couple ideas, screenings, which we had to kind of be strategic about now, and so I think there's some opportunities to do some unique things. We wanted to do, I've submitted to a couple festivals, thinking about submitting to a couple more, and just going from there, we are working on more. So you know, we one of the guys, the guy that actually scored it, Mike Barney, brilliant. Um, he said what we really want to do is build an anthology of shorts. So, where we do something else and they say, oh, this is the first time I'm saying work for them, but it's like, oh no, we have other work too. You go back and yeah. So I think that's kind of where we're at. We just want to keep building, keep going, and then have people kind of reflect. Yeah,
And I
yeah,
would love to see somebody sit down, like, even if y'all was to get, like, this is like, well, she's no longer here, but like, Aretha Franklin would have been lit, or like somebody that has gospel ties, or like, like is not even in the industry centered around like what the themes or like what you guys are talking about, but like somebody cultural, or just having conversations with different people, and you sit them down, and you light them, and kind of follow the aesthetic that you guys are going for, to kind of like talk about in narrative. But I'm excited to see where you guys are going to go with it. What's next for you as an individual or a cinematographer? Or I know nobody really knows. We're such uncertainty right now. But
yeah.
you have, any, contingency plans, or like, what you think, where you want to go with your work, what are you thinking about these days?
Definitely working on some personal stuff. Just kind of hashing out, some of the same stuff that we talked about in class, and still working through that. So definitely working that. I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional, just because this space, I was already kind of in this space before the actual quarantine, because as you know, I took the semester off, things of that nature. But just kind of further exploring this space where we kind of have the freedom to do certain things, and to just slow down. So I want to continue to kind of explore what it is I want. I mean, that I ultimately want to direct. And so just making sure that while I'm doing work for others, I'm also building my own narrative as well. So that being said, um, to your point, it's a lot of uncertainty. It's unprecedented time, but definitely thinking through a couple of things in terms of moves, what I want my next move to be. Like we talked about the other day, whether it's going back to Howard or whatever, making the move out west or staying put. But right now we're at the mercy of a pandemic, so I don't feel any pressure to do anything. Just kind of taking it as it comes.
Yeah, me too. Because I was like, "What's my next move?" And that's the same position I'm in right now. I'm like, "Okay, Shan, maybe go out west," but then it's just like, okay, maybe like the spirit said, okay, well, no, just wait it out, or see what's going on. So in due time, I just wanted to know if you had any vision or direction of what you wanted to do when you're looking for directors, or when people approach you about work. For my people who may be interested in working with you, what are you looking for in terms of like a creative collaboration, or what type of directors do you not necessarily seek out, but like, what's your ideal project, or like ideal partnership with collaboration?
The biggest thing is for me, it has to resonate with me on some level. I I've kind of learned to uh, define my vision regardless of the project, right? Like I can look at a project and determine what it is I want to see, what I think will work. But I think what I'm learning now is, does this speak to me? Does this move me? Um, is it inspiring? Does it drive me? And so I think that's kind of my biggest thing right now, is learning what what is important to me as a person first before a DP. Because um, it's easy to take everything, right? It's easy to just do everything. But I really want to be careful not to um, overwhelm myself, right? Because I pride myself on being able to kind of just do a lot and juggle multiple things. But I think what this time has shown me is Um, you know, time is the only real luxury. So one thing we can't get back. So it's important that I'm spending my time doing the things that move me, the things that are important to me, and not just because I think a lot of people will see it, or because it will sell well, or because I just like the person or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's because this is important. This is important for me. This is important for them. I can tell it's important for them. It's important for everyone involved. But even beyond that, it's important beyond us, socially, culturally, you know. So, yeah, I don't know if I've really answered the question.
No, you did. No, you
Okay, okay.
did. You definitely did. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they want to work or would like to see your work?
You can DM me, you can email me, and if you email me, ask me for my number, I'll give you my number. I'm pretty open, you know. I have a website that I don't update
Yeah.
nearly enough. I don't post nearly enough. I've been posting for this project. I kind of lurk. I'm just around.
Mm-hmm.
But all that being said, you know, feel free to Keith Nixon Jr. across all
All
platforms.
platforms. That's on Twitter, Instagram. I'm gonna link everything below.
Yeah.
You'll most likely send me your website, or if you go to his Instagram, I believe his website is in there. If not, the Funeral
Yeah.
of a Nation YouTube link is in there. Please go check it out for everybody. I definitely did. I think the day that it came out, was like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, thirsty. She can't drop nothing in a minute. Because like I haven't talked to you in a while, but I'm so glad to reconnect and chat with you about everything that's going on. I'm so proud of you, and I know we worked together in the past, but I've definitely done some growth. I know we both have, so I'm gonna shoot my shot, for the DT collab again, because I still feel the same way that I felt in school. I feel like we can make some magic. So I'm just gonna put that out there. If you would have me at times, or like at a time, where something will resonate for you. Hopefully I'm creating work that will resonate for you. I don't have anything right now, but I will say, in the future, I will be coming to look for you. You know what I'm saying? Let's not
Please
cut the
do.
cord. And I think
Yeah.
it's important. The tip is, please make sure you maintain healthy creative relationships, with
Mm.
people over time. Please sustain them, because they're gonna be like your lifeline, because it's who you have to network across and network up, but we're building a collaborative, and with that in mind, try not to burn bridges. Like you said, you still can stay connected to your friend, and you guys work with on the project together. That's a very thing, developing creative relationships and strengthening them over time, and being able to sustain them. So I would love to work with you in the future, definitely.
Absolutely.
I can see us going some places personally, with what we want to do with our work. Like I said, I feel like my ideals, and core values align with yours in terms of what we want to express to the world. So that's great. What tips do you have lastly, what's a few tips that you might have for beginning cinematographers or people who are into photography, or, more on the visual side if they're trying to break in? Because I know we have a lot of young Black people who are interested in being behind the camera now, or a lot of cinematographers are coming up. I don't know if you know Sade India or India. I'm going to send you her information. She's really and she's a young Black girl. She's in LA, but she's on the rise too as well. And I would say, you're definitely in her circuit, or we have a growing community of young Black cinematographers, which is so dope. I want you to meet Aaron Kidd Weeks as well. He went to Morehouse and he's a cinematographer too. But I think you guys would vibe. But what's your tips for people who are interested in getting into cinematography, i.e. shooting the films, shooting the either the music videos, or doing the lighting and things for the camera work and etc.
For me, I think my tips, it always starts with do your homework, do your homework. Always be open and willing to learn. Um, we could playing ball, we call it student of the game. You always want to remain a student of the game. So and that's important to me. And when I say do your homework, I don't mean specific to the project. I mean, study your craft.
Yeah.
study other crafts, that was important for me. Just understanding who people are as it relates to their craft, I think is important, because then it kind of um, gives you some insight into how to approach your craft based on who you are. So study the legends, study study the greats, study those that come before you, because we stand on the shoulder of giants. Um, so yeah, that would definitely be like kind of the first thing. Study, learn, watch movies, read books, watch pod or listen to podcasts, watch videos, read articles. I'm kicking myself because I haven't done as much as I should, but I think it's important to just have a steady, and especially now where we're inundated um, with information and material, and imagery. Be intentional about what you consume. If you want to be a great, you know, cinematographer, director, producer, musician, whatever, study and learn from others in your craft. So follow them, seek out their interviews, seek out their movies, their work, and don't, and then beyond that, figure out who their influences are.
Mhm.
Because I think that's really the key when you figure out, oh, this is why they do this because such and such did it, and then you
Yep.
start to build like a web, and from there you build your own approach. So that's one. Then the second and third thing kind of go hand in hand. Um, I always say, measure twice, cut once. So make sure, and that goes along with doing your homework, but making sure that you're very intentional again, and that you're very deliberate, um, precise. That's important. But then even considering that, stay flexible. So it's kind of a contradiction a little bit, but you gotta stay flexible because you and I both know that in film, things change quickly. You could have all your ducks in a row,
Mhm.
and the day of it's a snowstorm or something. You never know.
Literally,
Yeah,
story of
so
life.
yeah, so just
Yeah.
stay flexible, adjust, adapt. I think that's in any aspect of life, especially what we're seeing now, where we are in such unprecedented times. So you want to just take it as it comes, and then you just kind of you take the punches and you roll with it. So
Okay, cool. And like real quick, shout out some equipment, favorites or like cameras you like. I like personally, Black Magic is my baby, but
yeah,
everybody's like, but like I do like it. It's 4K, it's
uh
easy, you can assemble it easy, the setup is cool, you calibrate it, do white balance, you know what I'm saying? But like
yeah.
personally, I know you like Mark 3s or Mark 2s.
Uh,
Yeah. Like
I'm a
shout
Canon.
out some
I'm a
equipment.
Canon guy. I started with Canon just because that's what I started shooting with, photography. So I'm still I'm a little guy in the grand scheme of things. So I haven't used a lot of equipment. So I'm most familiar with C300 Mark II. Um, and then my personal kit, I have a EOS R, Ronin S somewhere around here somewhere, and then my DJI. That's my drone. I have the Pro 2. Um, and then, aside from that, I used the FX9 for the first time the other day. It's Sony, and that's amazing. Um,
Love Sony.
yeah, that
There's
was
new really
amazing.
up and coming the visual quality on with them. It's like, ooh,
Yeah, it's straight
yeah.
out of cameras. It looks great. But I also say shoot with whatever you have. Like I have a project where I have like footage from like 3, 4 different cameras. I might even have some iPhone footage in there. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, there are certain things that I've just kind of tend towards just because they're more, accessible, more available. Not every day we could get our hands on a Red or a
Yeah.
Ari or something, but
Yeah.
yeah. So shoot with what you have, but definitely, definitely, I would say for me right now is Canon. So
Yeah. Cool. Me
yeah.
too. I have a T6. and I'm starting to build my tech. I actually, my friend dropped off a Steadicam to me. Was it Moza?
Oh, word.
The Aircross. So I have to, get in my bag. I looked up some tutorials, but I might hit you up, for some assistance. But I'm definitely gonna learn that. But I've been building my kit as well, which is important. So thank you so much for hopping on. I'm so appreciative of this. This is not every day that we get to do this, and not every day to appear yourself on social media. Like you said, in your anonymity. So yeah, thank you so much. And if you have any last words, I'm not sure, but I'll definitely keep in touch with you. I'm gonna link all your information below, and I hope that people actually watch Funeral of a Nation. I'm gonna be boosting it. Still, I'll go and repost today on my pages and things like that. But I really appreciate you, and I wish you all the best. And I hope that you stay safe and protected and loved. And I'll definitely be in contact with you whatever happens, because I do have to come back. We'll cross. We'll cross over. I'll still have to come back. But thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for having me. I echo all your sentiments. Definitely, I appreciate you having me on. And definitely, reach out. Feel free, with anything you have, and then also stay safe. Mask up.
I will. Every day is like, I don't play about that. I got to protect my moms and grandma.
Definitely.
The soft spots. But
thank
you, my brother. Love
you
so much.
Love you too.
And I will definitely be in contact with you. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Have a great day.
All right. You too.
Bye.